when I left university, I went into the army for a short time. And then I left the army and I worked as a consultant. Did that for a few years, but then I got quite bored and I wanted to do, so music has always been a love for me. The Jago is a multi-use space. First of all, it's a live music venue, but it's also one of the few venues in London that specifically platforms music from Africans in the diaspora. We have been recipient of quite a big number of grants. Very recently we did what's called a Kickstart scheme, which was a scheme by the government to bring 16 to 18-year-olds into work.
Hello and welcome to Globe Traktion. My name is Persil Telewa. Today on the show, bring you the story of Kwame Otiende, this graduate of UCL who, besides studying something else in the university, is also full in entertainment as he runs his enterprise called Jago and also gives back to the community back home in Kenya. Kwame, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
You know why we are having this conversation? I'm sorry to say you know why we are having this conversation.
I do know why we're having this conversation.
But I'm impressed about, the humanitarian work that you do within the community, despite the fact that you're miles away from your own home country.
Thank you.
But you still have, the nerves to think about how the rest of the people are managing. So I'm going to go straight to you being in London, but still helping communities back, in Kisii. So tell me about it.
Okay, so I think one of the first things was that I'd been away for a very long time, and I thought, what could I do? Now, obviously, having been away for more than 20 years, because I went to the UK when I was in my teens, and every single visit that I made, I always thought, okay, what can I do? So that ended with me and a few of my partners establishing a foundation. So currently our foundation works in Kasipul constituency, which is in Homa Bay County, so not far from Kisii town. It's been operational for about 3 years, and we formally registered it this year, so to have formal structures, because before we were paying fees, we were, we're doing all sorts of community-driven initiatives, but it did not have formal structures. So this year we actually registered as an NGO, as a charity to operate in Kenya, and our first big activity will be a bursary for 400 students in that constituency in Kasipul, and we'll see how it goes this year, and we're hoping to grow it. So that at some point we do Homa Bay and then the rest of Western Kenya.
So when you're talking about 400 plus students getting bursaries, how much, approximately, and what is it that you're looking at? How do they manage to qualify?
So we are given from 5,000 to 10,000 shillings from primary schools, junior secondary schools, colleges, tertiary colleges, a lot of like TVETs. How they qualify is we dished out forms. We've got ward representatives, so we've employed about 15 people, and they go around and check on the students that apply. So are they actually deserving students? It's both academically, but it's also, we look at the socioeconomic sort of standing of the family. So we would, for example, target orphans, because you might find that a student doesn't do well in school, but because of issues at home. So sometimes it's not just about let's give money to the clever kids. It's also about the children that are struggling. So yes, so we've got 15 people that go around the whole constituency, and we've got a checklist. And once you qualify, then
then you get it. But then how do you make sure that the data or the information received is accurate? Because I know that you operate from very far, miles away. So tell me about that as well.
So I've got a pretty good team. In Kenya, all the activities that we run are run by someone that I work with closely called David Onjili. So he pretty much runs everything. Then under David, we've got 5 other board members, and they supervise what the ward representatives do. So we've almost got like a 3-level of checks. So first is the ward representatives. They'll go around, they'll make sure that the kids are deserving. Then next will be the board members. Will have a look at what the ward representatives did. Then lastly, David will check what everyone's done and also make, for example, random checks or random visits to some of these homes to just make sure that we are getting the right quality of information. Because yes, as you've said, I think sometimes in Kenya it's a bit of an issue with the bursaries going to
the
maybe friends
people.
or yes.
Now that we spoke about Kenya and the work that you're doing for the community, there is this assumption from developing countries that people in developed countries are well off and they're able to take care of their needs, especially basic needs. However, I know that where you are in London as we speak, you still also have an initiative that helps support the community by giving them food. So tell me about that as well, Kwame.
Yeah, so I've been running 2 businesses in London for a number of years, 8 years since we started. And one of the things that I was quite keen on was to make sure that, we're not just running a business, making money, but not giving back to the community. So one of the businesses that we run is a live music venue with an art. So it's a creative art space. So we do art gallery, music, it's a rehearsal space, loads of different things. But on a Monday and a Tuesday, we've partnered with an organization called City Harvest. And what City Harvest does is we get food, surplus food, that's what it's called, and we give it to local struggling families in Hackney. So Hackney is in East London. And every week we give food to about 300 families in East London. And that, I think, is, one might say, maybe part of our CSR, or we do care about the community that we operate in.
Yeah, and I would like you to speak a little bit about the entertainment bit, because I'm aware of the Jago. We spoke a little bit about it, some time back during our own, personal interaction. But I'd love for you to speak about it, because I remember you were very serious about it to an extent. You had to go through the legal systems somehow, to just make sure that the Jago has been, kept for the community. So tell me a little bit about the Jago.
Yeah, so the Jago is a multi-use space. First of all, it's a live music venue, but it's also one of the few venues in London that specifically platforms music from Africans in the diaspora. So that is Africans, Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos, all the different Africans. Yes. We also platform a lot of non-mainstream music. So we're talking about Balkan music, sort of like Turkish, Greek. We platform a lot of Japanese. So we try and basically cover a lot of people that most venues would not cover. Because of that, we've been quite successful. We've had a lot of community support. Like I said, the Jago's been operating for 6 years, but I've been in sort of music and arts, creative arts, for about 8 years. But then on top of that, we do a lot of other sort of, we nurture, like, for example, youthful young people that want to get into either sound engineering or music. So we give out the space for free. We've got sound engineers that will train young people. We have been recipient of quite a big number of grants. Very recently, we did what's called a Kickstart scheme, which was a scheme by the government to bring 16 to 18-year-olds into work. We were able to create about 40 jobs for young people. That's across 3 different venues, but the JAGO taking the lead. Pretty much it's a space that celebrates art and music.
A space that celebrates arts and music. Yeah. Let's talk about you as an individual, because I understand you studied something totally different, but then you've ended up doing so much, and I would call it, sort of just diversifying, Tell me, what is it that you study, and where did you go for your education, Kwame?
Okay, so I studied economics, development economics and politics when I was at uni many years ago.
Mental the exact same, yeah.
Yeah, but when I left university, I went into the army for a short time, and then I left the army and I worked as a consultant within the political risk, development economics sort of field. Did that for a few years, but then I got quite bored and I wanted to do, so music has always been a love for me. Yeah. Unfortunately, I never was able to go into it when I really wanted to when I was younger. But then when I got to the bit where I was like, okay, well now I've done the whole uni and having a career with a 9-to-5 in an office. I want to do something more creative. I went into sort of the whole creative world. So it's not just music, obviously. It's music, it's arts.
It's generally art. Yeah. Tell me about you having, the nerves to change your home, because basically, I know you're Kenyan, but you've spent so much of your time, in UK, and I'd love to know, when did the idea come about, and how did you make the decision to go to the UK?
Okay, well, I guess that's got a lot to do with family. A lot of my siblings had moved to the UK in the 80s. I come from a very big family as well. And
Are you the last one?
I'm the last one.
Oh, great.
Yes, the best looking of the lot.
I'll not comment on that. But I know they'll listen to these. They can be their own judges. Yeah,
I'm sure they'll agree. So I moved there when I was about 16. Yeah. I had an older brother that I lived with. So I had other siblings, but I moved to the house, to my brother's house, basically. Did my college, then worked for a few years. Yeah. I didn't actually go to university immediately. I worked for a few years first. Then I went to university. So I'd say the idea to move to the UK was probably more driven by my mom and my siblings than anything.
Yeah, and us joking about living in London and you don't need a car. So telling some of my friends, they're like, I don't think that would work for them. Tell me about your experience, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, London's a pretty busy city, and getting parking space is a problem to start with. So, like for example, apart from the first car I ever bought, I've never owned a car in 15 years. I actually do all my driving only when I'm in Kenya. So they've also made it very easy to not, obviously the public transport works really well. Yeah. We've also got Zip cars, which is a car that you can just rent for an hour or two, and then every street. So they've made it very easy to rent cars, rent bikes, and you really don't need to own a car anymore, which works really well for some of us. Obviously, you can also get Ubers and stuff like that. So it works pretty well. You
have all the options at your disposal. You're obviously very young, educated. You can easily land yourself, a good career in a better, company or whatever you want to do. But then what gets you, so much involved into the community and humanitarian, activities?
Yeah. I guess I've always been very community driven. That's one of the reasons why I studied development economics, because when I was younger, when I first went to university, I thought I might work for a charity or an NGO or something of that sort, within the third sector. Yeah. But now that I'm self-employed, or I run a company or two, I guess that's my way of still being involved within the community. So I'm very involved in London because that's also my community in East London. I've got a number of sort of initiatives that we've started. We've got one called the Hackney Venues Collective, which is to just bring together all the cultural venues so that we can speak with one voice. We've obviously got the food bank as well. That's one other sort of community driven initiative that that we do.
Yeah.
And then obviously in Kenya, I think my family's always been very involved as well. My dad, when he was alive, he was very, very involved in where he's from, which is our ancestral home. Some of my brothers have either been in or out of politics. So it almost came naturally that, you know, here I am now, and I should probably...
What can you do to help the community?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also, you know, there's a lot that people that are in my shoes could probably do. And it's always, you know, it's a good feeling when you see that you're able to work with your own people to try and better lives.
I'd like to know you personally. So tell me, we were just laughing about it. Any progress so far since the last time we talked about?
No progress, no progress. Maybe we'll see progress in the next few years.
In the next
but
few years.
At the moment, yeah. And at the moment, I'm sort of, you know, just very focused on work and all these other things that I'm doing. I'm not yet thinking of starting a family, if that's the question.
You're the last born, don't you get, you know, your brothers, your siblings push you and be like, Kwame, we need
I
you
think
to
we're
get
such
going.
a big family. I think
they've
covered it for me. I'm good.
You're so lucky.
Yeah.
So tell me, how has been the community in terms of reception for what you've been able to do, you know, even in your own little way?
Yeah, the reception has been great. I'd say it's been exceptional. I think it's also important to note that we work with everyone. We're not politically inclined. I think in the beginning, maybe some political leaders might have been a bit like, oh, okay, this sounds like a, you know, a political thing. It's not. It's very community driven. We've also got other things in the works that are coming soon, sort of like bigger in terms of what will create employment opportunities, which we've shared with people on the ground, and they're very, very excited for it.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned political class, do you have any, you know, possible dreams to get into the politics?
Do I?
Kenyan politics.
Do I?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess that's something that I will find out at some point once
you get there.
Yeah, when I get there, once I've spent enough time here. But at the moment, no. I am completely driven to work with, you know, people from my home to try and just better lives. That's it for now.
Thank you so much. I think I got you a little bit of something.
Okay.
That I understand where you come from.
Yes.
And
the weather where I come from.
Yes. So I think this gift will really work for you.
Thank you so much.
And I hope it fits.
However,
sure
it fits.
If it doesn't,
should we try it?
Yes, please.
Let's
if it doesn't, we can have it replaced.
No, I'm sure it fits. Let's see. Oh, that's nice and warm.
Have you added a few pounds though?
Don't say that.
From the last time I saw you, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Clearly I've been enjoying that.
It's good to enjoy life, you know. It is.
Yeah, I think it fits pretty well.
It fits. I hope it's not too tight.
No, it's not tight at all.
Yeah. So we are family that cares, and we thought that would be so nice when you go back.
Thank you so much.
And I hope it keeps you warm.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
Sure will.
I've seen actually that you are not just giving, okay, the bursaries might be a recent development, but besides that, you've been doing other things still with your foundation.
Yes. We've been doing a water project, which we'd like to do more of.
When you talk of water project, what does that entail?
So that literally means digging boreholes and putting water tanks in schools. So far, we've done 2 water tanks. We'd like to do more going forth. We do direct cash injection to women's groups. So we've got a big focus on women's groups, or what in Kenya are called chamas.
Why women?
Because I think women invest in families. Women are very good at taking care of money. The likelihood of the women's groups actually investing the money and coming up with a viable business is very high. That's not to say we don't help men as well. We do work with other groups, a lot of youth groups. So we've done, and one of the other things we do as well is we find out what the group actually needs. So for example, last time I was here, which was in November, we visited a group that keeps bees. And one of the things they needed was a sort of machine that they use to separate the wax from the honey, because they were doing it the traditional way. Yes, they were doing it the traditional way, which meant their honey wasn't clear, which also meant that they were selling the honey at a much cheaper price. And then when we bought this machine, I'll try and remember the name, they were able to now, have a better quality honey. So that's just an example. We, as an example, gave another group a PA system because they were renting out PAs to weddings, funerals.
Meetings. They're doing sort of events.
Exactly. So one of the other things we are keen on is to not just give money, but to actually give tools for whatever it is. Exactly. Exactly what's needed, because with money sometimes it gets difficult, and some things happened, and
Where do you get the resources to fund these projects?
A lot of the resources are just self-funded, so I raise the money myself. I've got a business partner and co-director of the foundation. He's called Rupert Wilkinson. He's English, so he helps fundraising in the UK. We also bring in more people to the foundation. So we've got a lot of people that just reach out to us and they're like, yes, we'd like to support. We'll give you a little bit of cash, or even people that give us, for example, now we are stockpiling musical equipment because I'm in music. So we've got a lot of musicians that have given me guitars, trumpets, saxophones, which once we've got a good number, we'll put in a container and just ship to Kenya.
Great. Your experience in both worlds, what would you say has changed your perception on life?
What has changed my perception? I think that's quite wide and varied. But I think that having lived in more than 1 or 2 countries, it makes you appreciate home a lot more. Makes you appreciate Kenya.
I think we can toast to that.
It does make you appreciate Kenya. It also makes you see where things are going wrong, where things can be better, and that sort of is perhaps the drive of wanting to do things within the country, because there's a lot that this country, the human resource is amazing. The people that you have in Kenya are amazing. That's why when they leave Kenya, they do really well. So what we hope would happen is systems would be created in Kenya to make, to nurture people, to make people show these talents that they're showing in the rest of the world. But I think one of the other things that I've sort of come out with, having lived in other countries, is that you go anywhere in the world and you work hard enough, you will make it. The opportunities are out there. It's just up for you to literally grab them.
Thank you so much for your time, Kwame.
Thank you so much for your time.
Was it inspirational or at least informative? I hope it was. Many thanks for watching the show today. Make sure you join us again next Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Kenyan time only on KTN News. And remember, if you have a story you'd like to share with us, don't hesitate. Write to us through Globe Traktion at standardmedia.co.ke, or DM us on our social media platforms at Globe Traktion or at KTN News KE. You can also tap that follow button to me on my social media platforms at Persil Telewa on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube for more behind the scenes. But until then, we hope to catch up with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.